Hello. Hello, hello. Nobody's joined yet. Nothing's happening. Ah, hello. Right, great. Hi. Hi, Michelle. Hi, hello. Don't know who you are, but hello. Great. Hello. The compliance woman, is that compliance work? I can't read all of that. Ah, compliance workbook, got you, lovely. Hello. Hello, Adam. Hello, Adam. It's your fault, I'm here. That will become relevant later, that word fault. Hello. Hello. Hi. Yes, well, we'll talk about fault in a minute, Adam. Talk about fault in a minute. Hi. Hi, BMO1711. Hello. We'll give it another couple of minutes and see how many other people join. Hello, Nige. Hi. It's quite weird actually talking to an image of yourself. Most peculiar. Can you hear me all right? Hopefully that's all going okay. Right, okay, shall we make a start? What do we think? Should we make a start? Great, lovely, great. Thank you for that feedback. Lovely. So I am Aileen Evans. I am lots of things actually. I'm a parent. Hello little gem. Hello. So I'm a parent. I'm a chief executive. I'm a school governor, and I'm a coach. And for me, coaching's all about people. My background, I was brought up in a North Nottinghamshire town. My dad was a coal miner. He was a very thoughtful, articulate, intelligent man who, when he was growing up, had no choices. And he did a job he hated for 35 years so I could have choice. Hi, Steph. Hi, lovely to see you. And so for me, being in a job that helps people have choices and enables people to make great choices and gives people more choice is a privilege and a huge responsibility, I think. So for me, it's what I do is all about people. So I'm here to talk about coaching. First of all, apologies for the croaky voice. Hello, Laura. Apologies for the croaky voice. I've had a bit of a chest infection, and so I may need to dive off and take water, and I've got tissues in case I cough. So for me, what is coaching? Well, I'll tell you what coaching isn't. Coaching isn't counselling. It's not trying to make sense of your past. It's not mentoring, which is giving people advice and support. Hi. Coaching stems from a belief that the person you are coaching has all their answers in them. And actually the skill and the job of a coach is to ask questions and observe really well so that you can help draw out of the person you are coaching what it is they think, what it is they want, what it is they want to have happen. So it's not about telling people, it's not about making sense of the past, it's very much future focused and helping people understand what it is they want. Excuse me. 5 key questions start with words like, or the questions I would ask start with 5 words like who, what, when, where, how, and then occasionally, so if this was a thing, what would it look like? Those sorts of things. But I'll talk more about that in a minute. Yes, absolutely, focusing on, well, trying to work out strengths and motivations. I was coaching somebody not long ago, and I observed that they looked a bit tired, and I said, so what have you been doing? And they listed some things they'd been doing, and they said, I said, so do you like doing those things? No, I hate them. I can't stand them. Excuse me. So I said, so what is it you like doing? And they listed a load of things that they like doing. So actually, spending your time doing things you don't like is actually really awful. It drains you, it knackers you. Hi Ellie. I was frightened this would happen, sorry about that. So spending time in a place where where you're not strong, that you don't like doing, is knackering. Actually, it's not good for you. You're not giving of your best. You're not able to be your best. Understanding what your strengths are and playing to those is where coaching, I think, where coaching can really help. So stemming from a belief that your coachee has all the answers, and that actually what you've got to do is ask some really cracking questions and make some good observations, listening to their language very carefully, looking at what's happening with their body. So, what resources do you need to coach? I'm going to recommend a few books now that I have found helpful. So, Coaching Skills by Jenny Rogers, which is this book here. It's backwards on the screen, obviously, but it's a really great first handbook for those of you wanting to coach. There's an oldie but goodie. My copy's gone walkabout, but the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People has some great stuff. Although it's quite old, it's really brilliant and still relevant today. You know, that stuff around seek to understand before being understood, beginning with the end in mind, all of that comes from Stephen Covey. 7 highly effective habits of 7 habits of highly effective people. And finally, this, you can see my copy is much thumbed. This is by a woman called Sue Knight. I spent half an hour in Sue Knight's presence, and it was the most inspiring, most learning, organised half an hour of my life. So this is NLP at Work by Sue Knight. And much of my coaching is based on NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, but I do use other models from transactional analysis, a bit of Gestalt and stuff. Actually, I just like learning stuff, so I'm quite higher. So yeah, no, that's a really great book. It's been updated since I bought this, but you can see mine is well used. Another book of mine, which has also gone walkabout, if you were thinking about teams, then you can do a lot worse than get hold of a copy of Patrick Lencioni, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. It's a really easy read, but a really poignant read. It's a very good fable, I think, for teams and how teams work. It's great. It's really, really good. So we have red triangles all over this place now, was as a result of us doing some work around Patrick Lencioni. So coaching uses models, it uses resources. So I have my some coaching cards. They're my strengths cards. These are cards that have got models on. Motivation cards, all bits and pieces that I don't have to draw, which is really good because it's all drawn for me. I just talk to what the models do. So diagrams. TED Talks are really great. There are some brilliant TED Talks out there for people who want to understand more about coaching and what good coaching looks like. So, why should you coach? Well, people are ambitious, they're in a job that they love, they've got motivation, you've been to university or college, or you've learned on the job, and so you've got some great skills. But what coaching helps you think about is how you think, what you believe, really understanding who you are. I think the day I understood I didn't have to be my mother was a brilliant revelation for me, and that actually was a part of my self-discovery around being who I am, and really knowing who that was. So that's great. It also helps you think about what you want, and excuse me, if we think about when I was a little girl, the number of times my mum said to me, I want, never gets. Well, actually, how do you know what it is to give somebody or to do with somebody if they don't articulate what they want? You don't have to do it in a I want sort of way, but what I would like is, or have you thought of, or please can I, and if it's articulated as a request, then that somebody can say no to, well then that's fine. You know, you've just found out something that somebody didn't want to do. Another glass of water. So, sorry about that. Sorry about all the coughing. Right. So, and when you think about leadership, so when you've understood who you are, and you understand what it is you want, and you're able to articulate that, and you're able to articulate that in a very clear way, then actually we're all leaders, I think, in many ways. Thank you for saying. I hope I feel better soon. I'm an awful lot better than I was in the week. So we're all leaders, but leadership is about what you say and what you do. It's about how you behave. And you can find lots of leadership books that tell you how you ought to be, but actually it's about what you say and what you do. And I think it's a responsibility of leaders to behave really well, because people in your organisations copy your behaviour. So copying getting some good behaviour and being clear about what that is, then actually I think is really, really helpful. So I'm going to talk you through a couple of models now for coaching. It's a bit difficult kind of doing models in this sort of setting, because actually normally I would use a model with somebody and talk about it. It's a very personal thing, but yeah, great quote there. Leadership is not a position or a title, it's action and example. That's great. That's absolutely what it is. So I want to talk through a couple of models that can help you. We had some people on, Kirsty, I think, and somebody else, I can't remember, Rachel, earlier on in the week, and the subject of work-life balance came up. Now, I don't believe there's such a thing as work-life balance. There's only life balance. You've just got life. And actually fitting things into life, hi Neil, fitting things into life is about actually how you prioritise and how you think about those things. So so these are all backwards on here, but I want you to think about, do this exercise for yourself. So it's about drawing yourself a circle, thinking about what the main areas of your life are, and they can be things like work, holidays, creativity, parents, partner, kids, fitness, house, whatever. Draw a sufficient number of sections, but draw them in the thanks for that quote. Draw them in the way they are now. Be brutally honest with yourself. And if your circle looks like excuse me, work is all of that there, and the rest of your life is crammed into this bit, ask yourself if that's what you really want, if that's the way you want that to be. And so then the next thing to do is to think about, given those categories that you've got yourself, draw out your desired balance of slicers. So get those same categories again and draw them out in the way that you would want to have happen. Now that might be even like those on there, or it might be some stuff around excuse me, that might be some stuff around you know, work taking up a third of your time. You might want to put time for sleep in there. Actually, I would like some of that. Actually, some sleep would be great. But then ask yourself what you need to do to get from your present state to your desired state. And what are you going to change? What is it you are going to change and do differently? So if you want to spend more time at the gym, then how are you going to make that time? Because unless you make some changes in your life and do something different, actually things will stay as they are. And I think we often say, oh, I need to go to the gym more. I always worry about the word need because need implies something you find it necessary to do, whereas if you can turn a need into a want, then actually want is much more powerful. If you want to do something rather than need to do it. Hi Phil Hardy, our ops director, thank you, no pressure then. So turn that need into a want and make some clear choices that will make your life pie different in the future, and give yourself a timescale when you're going to achieve it by. So by the end of the month I want to be doing the gym 3 times a week, or I want to have spent 2 hours in the garden every week, or I want to have spent more time with my children. Actually my last life pie had that in it about spending more time with my children, but being clear it's what you want to do, not what you feel you need to do, because I think that's really, really important. You are more likely to do things you want than those that you don't, and give yourself a timescale for doing that. So be very, very clear about what you are going to do to change it. So that's one way where we think about life balance. Now the next model I want to talk about, I think this was billed as a talk about giraffes. So here I have my giraffe. He's very significant for me. I'll tell you about him in a minute. But I want to talk about, I think we need more love in the world, and I think that's, and more kindness. And I think sometimes the way we think about things and the way we express ourselves isn't particularly lovely and not necessarily kind. And so in thinking about what ways we might think differently and what techniques we might think about, I've used this one for a number of years. It's by a guy called Marshall Rosenberg, and he coined a model called Giraffe and Jackal. And I would urge you to watch a video on YouTube called Jackals, Giraffes, Requests and Love. It's really funny, but it makes the point probably far more eloquently than I'm going to in a minute. But it makes the point about communicating in ways that help us and in ways that hinder us. And so he coined the giraffe and the jackal. I haven't got a jackal puppet. I don't actually want a jackal puppet in my office. So he coined these two symbols, the giraffe and the jackal, in order to signify two means of communication. So the giraffe is a land mammal. It's got the biggest heart of any land mammal. Its heart weighs up to about 40 pounds, but also with a long neck. She's got a good overview and really clear vision. So the giraffe stands for compassionate and kind communication. The jackal, however, I bet you can guess what that stands for, is when somebody communicates in a way that is kind of not violent. I mean, this is called the language of non-violent communication, but not necessarily violent, but actually quite can be quite difficult language. So they use language that prevents people from seeing their requests clearly, and they speak in a way that's quite judgmental. And you know what? I think we've all done that for a time. Why didn't that person send me a birthday card? Well, it's because they don't like me anymore. So, you know, you're making a judgment there. Or what on earth is she doing on her mobile phone again in the office? Can you just go and make your private call somewhere else? Probably not in quite those words, but I'm sure we've thought those thoughts. And what Marshall Rosenberg invites us to do is to think about, so when you see something, so when you see the friend on the phone, or somebody on the phone in the office, you observe the situation without judgment. So you think about then, so you're not applying a judgment to that, and you're seeing the situation from what it is. And then you identify and express your feelings in response to that, situation that you've just observed. But you do it in a way that you articulate the feelings behind your needs, and you own your own feeling. So you would say, well, I saw you on the phone, and actually I felt that I was a bit disturbed by that, and I wonder what we might do differently so that you can have your phone call and I can get on with my work. That's a much better way of saying, you know, get off the phone or go and make your phone call somewhere else. Or, you know, it's a much better way of thinking about those conversations you have in a very collaborative, much more clear and calm way. So the model is really about so observing the situation without judgment, identifying and express your feelings, find that need behind the feelings. You know, my need was for that person not to be talking on the telephone while I was trying to do work, and then formulate a clear, positive, doable request. So when you ask somebody to do something, a request is something that somebody can say no to. A demand is something that people can't say no to. So thinking about, so you're viewing the situation, you're working out what you feel, you're articulating your need, and you're doing that in a very clear way where you're requesting. That's a great way of finding out what somebody else wants. Very often I say to people, well, actually you haven't got a flip top bend for a head. I can't slice a bit off and look inside and think, that's what that person's thinking, I'll go and do that. Actually, so asking people what they want in a way that's very clear and without judgment, I think will elicit those kind, constructive conversations that I think are much more helpful and are much more of what we need in the world than the angry conversations or the judgmental conversations that we have. So be cool, be like Gerald the giraffe, and think in ways that you can communicate in a clear, kind, concise way that isn't jackal, that isn't angry, and that is completely without judgment. So that's one of my favourite models. I'm just looking at the time and thinking I've got a few more minutes. So the other day I learnt a wonderful new word. And it's a word I'm going to, yes, Gerald, yes. So there's this wonderful new word I learned, and it kind of got me thinking that actually what people, very often people who I coach can list all their flaws, all the things they're not good at, far better, in a far better way than they can list the ones that we are good at. But you know, we're all perfectly imperfect. We're all on a journey, and we are perfect with our imperfections. And so for me, then this wonderful word is flawsome. So we are awesome in spite of our flaws, and actually sometimes because of our flaws, because that would be really boring if we were all the same. So there's a wonderful hashtag there if you want to go out and be flawsome. But for those of you who are thinking about job hunting or thinking about getting your CV in order, write down the 30 things that you're good at, the 30 qualities that you have, the 30 things that that make you glow with pride, or actually some of them you might need to dig deep for, because actually 30 is quite a lot. You'll do the first 10 really easily. The second 10 you will probably do with a little bit more difficulty, but where the nuggets are is in the third 10. And make sure that it's those qualities that sing out of your CV, not a 30, not a shopping list of your achievements. So actually, when you've worked out who you are and you've thought about those qualities, having those in your CV is a really cool thing to do. Another TED talk I would, so for those of you preparing for interview, this is a bit fun, and I did this. I was interviewed recently for the job I have now, which is a huge privilege, actually, leading this great organisation which is Grand Union. There's a wonderful behavioural psychologist that you can get a TED talk call for, called Amy Cuddy, and she does something about power body language. Now, power body language, I think it's not necessarily about language that gives you power, body language that gives you power, but body language that gives you confidence. And so they've done some tests, and adopting power poses, that fake it till you make it stuff, that power pose decreases cortisol, so it decreases the fear hormone and increases testosterone. Now, we associate testosterone with aggression. Actually, testosterone isn't aggressive, but what you need to do is, or what I wanted to do, and actually what really helped me centre, and what helps me centre for important occasions, is to go and do Wonder Woman in the toilet. Do a Wonder Woman pose in the toilet. You know, hands on hips, feel really strong, centre yourself. Actually, the science behind that is it decreases your fear hormone and increases your confidence hormone. So that is, the Amy Cuddy stuff is hilarious, but it is really, really, you know, it's based in science. And finally, somebody mentioned this earlier. I want to talk to you about my absolutely all-time favourite book. And it's not a coaching book, and it's not a novel. It's not any of those things. It's a book that has great poignance for me. It was the last gift my mother bought my stepdaughter before she died. This is not the... my mother died, not my stepdaughter. She's just started a job in London, so she's cool. So she bought my stepdaughter this book called Giraffes Can't Dance. And for me, this isn't her copy. This is my own copy. Actually, I give people copies of this. This is the story of Gerald, and Gerald is a giraffe who can't dance. It's got wonderful cartoons and words in, and Gerald spends ages being ridiculed by his friends because he can't dance. He falls over, he gets really upset and angry and frustrated with himself and all those fears and all those things because he found something that he can't do and he's focused on it. But there's lots of pictures in it, but I wanted to finish really on the final few sentences of this when Gerald learns to dance. And so I won't read all of the book because it will take half an hour, but so Gerald felt so wonderful. His mouth was open wide. I am dancing. Yes, I'm dancing. I am dancing, Gerald cried. Then one by one each animal who'd been there at the dance arrived while Gerald boogied on and watched him quite entranced. They shouted, "It's a miracle. We must be in a dream. Gerald's the best dancer that we've ever seen. How is it you can dance like that? Please, Gerald, tell us how." But Gerald simply twizzled round and finished with a bow. And then he raised his head and looked up at the moon and stars above. "We all can dance," he said, when we find music that we love. And actually, I think life is short. Do you know what? Go find music that you love and dance to it. And if you need a coach to help you do that, you know, make sure that they're helping you find the right tunes and you're doing the right groove, because actually life is too short to be doing anything else. Right, I'm going to take a drink of water. Has anybody got any questions? I've rendered you all to silence. My talk of giraffes and children's books. So, no questions? Yeah, you've got to find your right song. Find your right job. Life's too short to be miserable. If you're in a relationship or you're in a job that actually you can't make better, then find something else to do. Think about what your strengths are. So Sue Knight. So Adam has asked me. What did I gain from Sue Knight? Sue Knight taught me the most exquisite way of noticing somebody and giving them a compliment. So when we were all invited to notice things about people in our groups, she taught me. So the observation I did with somebody was a woman who we had to organise the chairs. She brought people round with her arm into the circle. She helped us organise the chairs. There were very few words spoken, but there was some stuff around. Her caring, and so I sat down and I said, you know, I bet you care about people in your family. I bet you care about people in your work. You could see by her arm gestures, by her facial expression. So that half an hour with Sue Knight taught me the most exquisite noticing exercise in order to give people compliments. And actually noticing what people do well is a hugely more productive way of being than noticing what people do badly. Actually, it's really crap telling people that they're rubbish all the time. You know, I've done an exercise in resilience with my children, that where we get a circle and they write down, you know, those 30 things I told you that you're good at. Well, I did that with my children. I want resilience. I want resilience for my children, and getting them to focus on what they are great about and what they bring to the world, and what inspires them is a far better way of doing that, and having a skill that notices that and suggests to people that. I can't do it nearly as well as Sue can, but I do try. Steph has asked me, what does coaching give me? I learn. I am fascinated. I adore people. I love observing people, thinking about what helps them make them tick. I love the way that by suggesting a different perspective or getting people to see a different perspective for themselves, that they go and do something different and make changes in your lives that help you think about what it is to be happy. Actually, being happy is really important. Thinking about what you do makes you happy is really cool, and so helping people find places where they can grow and be happy and love and be kind and do good things in the world. Do you know what? I think that's a huge privilege. That's a huge privilege, and I'm very lucky to be able to do that. I've to a certain degree, I guess I've made my own luck. I mean, it's 20 years of working, but I just adore people, and I particularly adore. I love it when you've been with. I love it when you've seen somebody that you've helped coach grow and go off and difference. And do different stuff. So, do I think it's important to understand theories like Myers-Briggs or Belbin? I think I use a range of stuff in my coaching, and sometimes I'll use the Myers-Briggs, the MBTI, and actually you can probably guess. So you can probably guess whether or not somebody's feeling or perceiving from talking to them. What the Myers-Briggs will do will give you the nuance behind that. Belbin's good for understanding team roles. I've used Belbin actually for a good few years, but I might do my Belbin again. That's a really good suggestion. So the question was from the compliance workbook, do you think it's important to understand theories like Myers-Briggs or Belbin to coach? And so, yeah, so I went off on one there, sorry about that, but yeah, MBTI and some stuff you can do around strengths work is really good for you. I think you know, it's all grist to the mill. Coaching, so Jem has asked, coaching and mentoring, what's the difference, is there one, and the pros and cons? They're both different. So coaching starts with a belief that the person has all their answers and you are asking good questions to help them find the answers. Mentoring is where you're advising and supporting and coaching, and advising, I think. So coaching's about the person working it out for themselves with some great questions. Mentoring's about, well, when I was in this situation, I did that. So coaching and mentoring, what's the difference, is there one, and the pros and cons. The pros, they're both different. Actually, the pros of coaching is with coaching, I think you're more likely to get a sustainable solution because the person has worked it out for themselves. But mentoring's really important too when you're in a really difficult circumstance and you want to think about a way out. Then exploring a range of options with somebody who can advise you or mentor you is really good. Why CIH? I've been so Adam's asked me why CIH, Aileen. Why CIH? I've been a member of the CIH for 30 years. I think it's fantastic. I think it is. It's an amazing bank of resources, both human and theoretical and factual. I think that really clever people work at the CIH. I think it's a great network. I think it's given me an awful lot in my career. Adam has also asked me a question we must ask. How we do every week, how are we pronouncing scone? Well, it's scone, not scone for me. But there's, so yes, I don't know if that adds to the debate, but yes, so I don't know quite what CIH has got to do with scones, but let me just scroll back and see if we've got any more. Yeah, so... Oh, right, okay. Oh, yes, and Phil Hardy, who works here, who is also from Nottingham, has given me a thumbs up at the scone sign. At the scone sign, yes, okay. So, any other questions? Think of some stories that I can tell you. What's the advice that I would give to my younger self? Oh, that's dead easy. So, Steph has asked me, what's the advice you would give to your younger self? Worry less. Play more, find more music to dance to. Actually, I had this wonderful, until I kind of learned that I did this, I had this wonderful habit of catastrophizing. So, you know, every time somebody didn't turn up at a meeting or stuff, it will be, well, they've been in a car crash, or, you know, I would catastrophize. I would worry about most things. Actually, worry less, get good sleep, love more, dance more. That would be what I would say. What advice, Adam's asking me, what advice would I give for somebody just starting in housing? Volunteer for stuff. Stick your nose in, volunteer to do things. I got this wonderful job at North East Derbyshire District Council quite a long time ago. If I tell you how long ago, I'll show my age. And that was one of those jobs where I got to do lots of different things. And I kind of did everything. So I was responsible, because it was a small district council, I was responsible for the homelessness service, I was responsible for the warden service, for housing association enabling. So the enabling role, which is what got me into housing associations, and a couple of other stuff. And one day my boss said to me, I want you to go and write the housing investment programme strategy. Now the HIP strategy, as it was called, was one of those things that the HIP strategy was one of those things that on which decided your funding as a district council for housing for the following year. So here was me, excuse me, new in this job, quite young, and my boss says, I want you to go and write the HIP strategy. Well, where I'd come from, we had a whole team of people who did that. But there's that. So I said, well, you know, okay. I didn't express the fear. Okay, I did it. I worked out what I needed to do it. I got the support, I did it. And we actually got an increase in funding that following year because I came at it with fresh eyes and I did something completely different. We got a 21% increase in funding that year. And so actually my boss was the one with the inspiration because he knew I would come at it from a different perspective, and actually he knew that once I got over the oh god, I'm not sure if I could do that, that I would go and do it and it would be okay. And actually it was better than okay. It was really good, and that was a great experience for me. So you know, you're an awful lot better and you're an awful lot resilient, more resilient than you think you are. So just volunteer, find something to do, and you know, say, "Here's a job. Can I do that? That would be cool." So yes, so volunteer. Someone going into an interview, apart from going and doing Wonder Woman in the toilet. So Adam's asking me, what advice would I give someone going into an interview? Prepare, but not too much. Don't leave your best performance in your study or in your bedroom or wherever it is you do your prep. A bit of nerves is okay. Do some prep, but the thing about interviews is that they are a two-way process, and don't you ever forget it. Actually, it is as much about you wanting to find out about them as it is them finding out about you. So if you have unasked questions, or if you have questions when you go into that interview about the organisation, ask those questions, thinking about, you know, ending up in a job that you hate, because actually you haven't thought about whether or not you're a good fit for that organisation, as well as them thinking about whether or not you're a good fit for them. Ending up in a job you hate is a really, really miserable place. So prepare well, but think as much about what the organisation can do for you as you can, as what you can do for them. So yes, that would be the advice I would give somebody going for an interview. I think we've got time for one last question if anybody's got one. Oh, that's very kind, Steph, saying I'm wise. I'm just old, actually. I think I'm just really old. And you gather stuff as you go through life, and you know, it all gets trotted out at some points. But yeah, no, I just think I've been incredibly lucky to have had a. So Stephanie's asking me why I work in housing. I do this job for nothing. I think it's the best job in the planet. What job? So I think about the range of things I've done. What job can you go and you can build new homes, you can collect the rent, you can be an HR person and recruit people, you can go and fix our houses, you can create, we've got quite a big supported housing bit of our business. We do quite a lot with people with a learning disability, women fleeing domestic abuse. Actually, we're there when people need us, and we give great support when people need us. And you know, rather like the people who work here or the people that you coach or whatever, you know, it's great when people don't need you, because actually they've moved on, they've taken what they needed, and they're getting on with a really great life. I think you know, that housing is the cornerstone of people living good lives. It's the absolute cornerstone of people living good lives. It's the key to educational achievement, to good health, to a good and fulfilling life. And so working in a sector that helps people have that, actually, who wouldn't want to do that? I think that's a real privilege. Okay, I think we are about done. I have to make sure that I make sure the ending instructions go carefully so that I save this. You'll be able to watch this on Instagram for 24 hours, and then I believe it goes into the CIH members area. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening and for all the hearts and all the likes. It's been quite surreal. I hope it's been okay. I hope you've got something. And if I can help, then contact me, drop me a direct message on Twitter or whatever, and I'll see what I can do to support you. Because actually, you're all really important. You're all really important. You're all flawsome. Don't forget, you're all flawsome. Right, see ya. Bye.